Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for episode number 4 of our Wednesday Wisdom Devotional. I hope that this morning finds you doing well, well rested. I know you're getting ready for school, getting ready for work, so I don't want to keep you long this morning. Yesterday was a really good day for me personally, just a day full of many firsts, especially with my daughter. But I'm sure that you're like me, and that you can remember those big events in your life, those big events that give you good, warm memories, and most importantly, bring you a lot of joy. I'm sure you're like me. You can think of maybe when you obeyed the gospel, or maybe when you proposed or got married, maybe when you had your children. If none of that applies, maybe when you graduated from high school or graduated from college, got your first job, your first car. We all have those memories burned into us. And they come in at the right time, and we get a sense of joy, and we enjoy looking back at what those events brought into our life. But there's a drawback. Our society builds itself around the big event. The bigger the event, the more joy it can bring into your life. And of course, because more joy that is brought into your life, the more you enjoy life. Solomon, in the book of Ecclesiastes, would counteract that thought. He'd actually look at us and say, instead of looking for the big event to find enjoyment or to find joy, instead, why don't you look for the small event? Why don't you make it a point of emphasis to enjoy the little things, or as we would like to say, the simple things in life? As Solomon writes the book of Ecclesiastes, he writes from the perspective that life is temporary, that it's short, that it goes by very, very fast, and that life is not built just simply around big events. The life is built around the small things, the simple things. And as I was closing down the day yesterday, getting back in, getting our daughter asleep, and just kind of unwinding from yesterday's events, and of course in preparation for this morning, something came to mind in the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 5, verses 18, 19, and 20 that I wanted to share with you, to see how Solomon stresses the importance of the little things, the simple things. This is what he says. Ecclesiastes 5, beginning with verse 18. Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil, this is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. I think it's safe to say that at least in our few verses this morning, that Solomon's focus is on joy. In some way or another, whether it's joy, whether it's enjoyment, whether it's rejoicing, Solomon wants us to understand that that life is made up of a few days. It is short. It's temporary. And so instead of looking for the big event, Solomon says, why don't you just find joy in the meal that you share with your family at night? Why don't you find joy in the walk that you take down the sidewalk? Why don't you find joy in the laughs that you share with your spouse or your children? Why not even find joy in your work? Because one day our bodies will not allow us to go to work. I like all the things that Solomon says about joy, that in verse 18, finding enjoyment is a good thing. In verse 19, God has given us power to find this enjoyment. And in verse 20, that if we're willing to look at joy from the perspective of a simple cup of coffee with a good friend, that God keeps us preoccupied with the joy that is in our heart. My encouragement to you today and wanting to live and desiring to live a wise life is to find enjoyment in the little things. Don't look for the big event today. I'm not saying that the big event isn't important. Not saying that the big event doesn't matter. But think about how many moments of joy we have missed because we've been preoccupied with the big event. Don't let this day pass you by without enjoying the simple things that it brings your way. Maybe the car ride to work. Maybe the conversation with your kids in the back seat. Find something today. Anything. It can be big or it can be small, but I'd encourage you to start small. Find something that brings enjoyment into your life, because God has given you the power of enjoyment. And if you'll take Him at His word, keeping the perspective that life is temporary, and that means that life is meant to be enjoyed each and every day, then the memories that you make, whether they are big or small, they can be, as God says, occupied with joy in your heart. This is our Wednesday Wisdom Devotional. I hope that it has given you something to think about. For our members, I hope to see you tonight for Bible study at 7 o'clock. If you live in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, we would love to have you join us tonight at 7 o'clock for Bible study at the Raleigh Church of Christ. We're located at 911 Berringer Drive in Raleigh, North Carolina. And if you can't join us tonight, we would love to have you, Lord willing, on Sunday. We have Sunday school at 9:30. We have classes for all ages, and then we also have our morning assembly at 10:30. Go find enjoyment today. God has given you that power. Find it in the small things. Hope you have a blessed day and a safe day. Bye-bye.